So you have a horse, he's 2-1. He's going to pay $6.40, right? You're going to bet $40 into the race, but all of it is contingent on this horse winning. You're going to bet exactas, you're going to bet tries, trying to make a score. All right, so you whiff on all of that, and meanwhile, you could have had 40 to win on the horse and got back $128 for your 40. You'd have been up $84, right? Or $88. But why would you do that when you could fuck it up? That's what we do. And then show the guy your losing ticket with your bad breath. You just had a salami sandwich and, something that was laced with garlic. And you get right in the guy's face and go, "Whoa, look at that. They left out the 2." Like anybody wants to hear about your sorry losing ways, especially in those circumstances, because they're losing too. If you're, happen to know the guy's winning, maybe throws you a couple of bucks and says, "Here's the forest. Get out of my face. You're whining and you're fetching." Unbelievable. Nothing worse than a guy. Is there anything worse in a gambling situation than a guy showing you his losing ticket at the track?
Oh yeah, that's the worst. And you all do it constantly. Bitch.
Everybody, right?
Oh.
Look at that. I left out the 2. Well, you're an asshole. That's why you left out the 2. You lost. Just admit it. You're a lousy handicapper, a poor money manager, and you really have no business being here in the first place. And guess what? You haven't had a winning year in your life. But here we are. Every day.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Sort of got left in the gate here a little bit, but good to be with you on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubie Lubitz, the birthday boy, celebrated a birthday on Sunday. We extended the ceremonies into yesterday, and I had a blast out there at the Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar and Cafe. Site of many a good time and fond memory in what were sort of difficult times for us in the radio business. We were just kind of getting started there at 940 wins. Weren't necessarily, we were doing okay, but weren't necessarily making the big bucks that we were looking for right out of the chute. And we're supplementing our income by doing nighttime shows on 1470 WWNN, where remarkably, 12 years later, we circled back around. And that's where we launched the Mike Mayo's Lunchbox Show. But it's been much more of a success and a bigger hit as a video stream on the Let's Eat South Florida site. So with that, we will be culminating and ending our relationship with WWNN sometime in the next, 10 days.
Yeah.
So, that's happening. But that's okay. They went through a lot of changes, including hounding me for a payment that we already made for the Beasley broadcast system. Say, I love the radio business because there's such filth involved and such deception and so many diabolical people and thieves and crooks, and they're all in the management and ownership level. The talent people, the people that just want to be on the air or be behind the scenes there and make people happy by generating, something that people will find entertaining in the so-called world of the theater of the mind, which is a concept I warmly embraced. I always loved radio, always will. I mean, it's a lot nicer to be able to see the people that you're talking to on the show. We do have phone guests, but we always appreciate it when the people make the extra effort and pop on. We have a couple of guests lined up today. I don't know if Dave Hyde's going to be able to be around the computer. I know Scoop Skolnick usually is doing video, and Scoop will be joining us later on. You talk about, I'm always impressed. I'm overwhelmingly impressed with Scoop, who's a young guy, but has an incredible sense of NBA history and total recall of names of guys on teams that have played for like the 86 Denver Nuggets and things like that. That impresses me. I know it's easier too. I mean, this was a speculation, and those of you that aspired maybe, who didn't dream about being a professional athlete if you're a sports enthusiast and you had any ability whatsoever? I don't know, Lubie, did you harbor dreams of being a professional athlete at some time, or maybe getting a college scholarship for your play at second base, and you're thinking maybe some school in the Midwest will offer me a scholarship? A lot of people aspire to that. And the common theory was, well, geez, to really get there, and I don't know if it's more applicable today. I guess we see it where if you concentrated on one sport. See, we loved playing every sport when I was a kid. But whatever it was. Now in Brooklyn, it was prohibitive because we didn't play a lot of basketball, surprisingly, in Brooklyn. In fact, I don't even recall there being a lot of baskets out there. What was available was pretty, Spartan-like in its presentation, right? Where you would have like a bent rim with no net on it. And you had those, what are they? Kind of erector set backboards, or even the half moon, which was probably the worst backboard to shoot on. Did you not enjoy playing basketball in the half moon baskets?
Hated it. Hated that with
Double rims with chains.
the double rim with the chain. I was just gonna say was the worst thing ever.
Very discouraging. I mean, if you were a shooter at all, the double rim was just a kiss of death. I mean, it had to be spot on. Even if you put a ball through as a swish, there was a good chance it was going to somehow find a way to bounce out of there and end up being a miss. But the theory was if you concentrated on one sport, I guess this is more common today. If you concentrated on one sport, that would vastly increase the likelihood that you could make it to higher levels of playing that game. In other words, you might be good at baseball, basketball, and football, but if you just chose one and said, this is it, I'm going to dedicate myself to whatever it takes to be really good at this, is it possible to be well-rounded? I mean, you do see guys, you rarely see two sports stars in the pros anyway, but I mean, you do find out that some guy that's playing, shortstop for the Guardians, let's say, just an example I'm throwing out there, a hypothetical, also starred as a quarterback on his high school football team and carried the basketball team to the state championship.
Yep.
So you do see well-rounded athletes, but I believe it probably is true that if you just, it makes sense. If you concentrated on only one thing, that you would be more likely to succeed in that area. But you never did? You never harbored dreams of making it into any kind of profession? Well, I mean, size might have been a mitigating factor.
I would practice my wind-up and pretend I was Maddox, and I would do that thing like I was Gary Sheffield. But my goal, even young, I realized, you're tiny. So I focused on coaching. I always wanted to be a coach. Most of my life, coaching was what my
dream. That would have been a good idea to go ahead and pursue that. That's something I don't know that I would have made a very good coach, but it's something that now looking at the current situation, where is there a better job in the world than being a lousy coach once you get a good position? Matt Rule, the latest example of a guy, getting $60 million for fucking up the Carolina Panthers. They now have to train all of their players. The interim guy has already dealt this Anderson cat. He's already gone, huh? That didn't last long. Talk about just taking the tape off the locker there, and your name has been replaced by a blank.
Oh my God.
That was always depressing too when you got cut from a team, and you're sitting there looking and going, "Wait a minute, my name was up there yesterday. That's my stuff." And they have a security guy escorting you to the door like they do in radio, but. Yeah, you talk about, and this would have been a dream, right? Also for us, having, moved on, because if you can't play, right? It's kind of like the people that couldn't really perform on the radio, they all became consultants.
Yeah.
Well, you got to play the hits, Defo. If you're going to just sit there and ramble all day, nobody's going to listen to your shows. Okay, great. What are you doing, man? What was the furthest you went in this game?
Exactly.
Nowhere. Backwards. And I don't know there's a great appreciation for talent anymore, or creativity. There certainly isn't any appreciation for creativity in the radio business. A dead issue, I guess. Oh. So, the departure from WWNN doesn't necessarily... in fact, I consider it a plus that we're able to leave there and get out of the whole mode and the idea that terrestrial radio is the only way to go. But, that was something that, after you realize that you can't be a pro athlete, you're thinking, well, how can I get involved in sports? Yep. So, hey, this is, in my, estimation, far and away the next best thing, is it not? Unless you can get into some kind of executive position. Could you have been a general manager? Could you not do what Brian Cashman is doing with the New York Yankees? Get just a gob of money and be able to spend it and at least create a team that is competitive year in and year out, for the most part, the New York Yankees. And they're crying, my God, they're blaming Aaron Boone for the rain yesterday. Well, you would think they'd be thanking him, because it puts them in a much better position, does it not? They're going to throw Cortez in the game this afternoon, where they were going to have to go with, is it Talon? Is that how you pronounce the guy's name? Talon? Taillion? Tailloon. Talon? Is that how we pronounce this guy's name?
Sure.
Who's going to pitch?
I have no idea.
Jamison Talon.
I've never heard the name. in my entire life.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're counting on the pronunciation from John Sterling. You're probably never going to get it. And he was going to go against a guy named Savali for the Guardians yesterday. I was looking forward to that. I was sitting there in front of the TV set, and it was Rain Out Theater.
Yep.
Ended up showing Dwayne Wade has a quiz show. Did you know that? He hosted a quiz show, Dwayne Wade?
I saw a commercial for it a couple years ago. I never actually saw the show. I thought it never made it to anything.
Julian says it's Tyon, which makes sense. I mean, you take the two L's, there's silence, and it becomes a Y.
Latin, yeah.
Tyon. All right. So he was going to go last night, but now they're going to throw Cortez this afternoon, which is a big advantage for the Yankees, you would think. I'm not sure that Bieber is going to be out there, Shane Bieber, for the Guardians. So I don't know. Edge going to the Yankees, the fact that the game was postponed, you would think. Cortez has been dynamite. He was better than Garrett Cole during the course of the regular season. Was an all-star, kid from Hialeah. Great story. It really seems to be a dynamic personality and the type of guy that you would like to have out there, almost Gibson-esque, as he goes to the mound today and tries to get the Yankees home. Yankee fans were crying. I mean, I've never seen, ye of little faith. My God. They're down 2-1 to the Guardians, who really, they couldn't score at a Heidi Fleiss pool party, at least throughout the playoffs. They've been very, very meek with the bat. A resourceful team, a team that you could root for, an underdog team that is screaming for the fans to boot them home, and yet they're facing a do or die situation at Yankee Stadium. Now have to face a much better pitcher than they would have had to go against last night. Big edge, the guy John Heyman. He was one of the few guys in the New York press that actually was saying the Guardians would win this series before the series started. Now that takes balls, right? You're writing for a New York paper. Heyman became a member of the staff of the New York Post after an illustrious career at very high levels of journalism, or sports journalism, if you could call. Is that an oxymoron? Sports journalism?
No.
Sports journalism? No.
They do it right. I mean, they might be an oxymoron today because it's about getting it out fastest, not correct. But look, the Armin Catans of the world, Leslie Visser, John Feinstein, like when they do
it's good journalism,
thing,
Scoop Skolnick. I mean, some of our guys, right?
Skolnick, like when Dave Hyde is very, this
Hyde is a sports journalist. You're right.
I mean, guys and gals that take it seriously and aren't, new age Twitter newsbreakers.
Knee-jerk reactions, overreactions, premature, as we say, evaluations, which is right up there with premature ejaculations in terms of reactions to certain things. You see a woman, boom. Oh, sorry. It'll be better next time. I can assure you it's going to last longer. But I mean, they do have any number of people that are scoping out good stories. And this would have been a great story. This Heyman guy, took a shot there. He was the one guy in the New York Post that said the Guardians were going to win. Based on what, Lubie? Do you know what his reasoning was?
Oh, God, no idea.
It was sound. And actually, it played out so far that the Guardians' bullpen was vastly superior to what was looking like a very messy and dicey situation, and also one that Yankee fans have implied has been badly mismanaged by Aaron Boone, and that they had a huge edge in the bullpen. And so with starters never completing games anymore, that loomed as a distinct advantage, and Heyman thought it was good enough to get the Guardians home. And it may turn out to be the case. Think about what this game is going to be contingent on, Lubie. If Cortez goes 5-6 innings, that's a huge plus for the Yankees. But then they have to get into their bullpen. There was a lot of debate about whether Holmes should have been brought in game number 3. Aaron Boone had some kind of rationalization why he didn't do that. Well, he had to protect the guy. And you're thinking, you don't need to protect guys at this point. Garrett Cole says he's available, or would have been available, to pitch yesterday on no rest, right? Like, just go from Sunday, okay, I'll pitch another one, like he was Whitey Ford or something. And so that'll be an interesting situation to see how that plays out. But overall, I mean, the crying and the whining and the fetching and the throwing in the towel by the Yankee fans has me rooting for the Guardians now, even though I grew up a Yankee fan. And I would have to say I have no real inclination to be a fan of the Cleveland teams, except that they're underdogs all the time, right? And where you're rooting for the Cavaliers when LeBron was playing there.
Oh, no.
I was. I kind of, like to see, these cities that never have any success. Well, Cleveland's had some success, but, I mean, it's been a long time, right? When was the last time the Browns did anything? Biner and Bernie Kosar were playing for them the last time they were relevant. And they seem to be just always a shambles, one of those organizations that finds a way to sabotage itself year in and year out. And look at them this year. They're horrible. That was what was the guy's name? Freddie, what's his name? Kitchens.
Yes,
When they hired him as when they hired him as a head coach, that was a sure sign that the organization was on tilt and about to go backwards. Anyway, Dwayne Wayne had a quiz show. Did you see this thing? I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but there were so many things that kind of interjected and intersected each other last night in my desire to watch a playoff baseball game of tremendous significance. See if the Guardians could pull it off. And I find myself, I know there are a lot of Yankee fans in our audience, but I find myself pulling for the Guardians just to pull off the upset and to douse the smugness of the New York Yankees organization, who feel, is there a more entitled fan base than the New York Yankee fan base, feeling like they own the championship year in and year out, even though they haven't won one since when? It's been like 2009. Was that the last time the Yankees were in a winner's circle? 2000, somewhere in that area, Lubie? It's been a long time. Been a long time. Been a long time. Been a long, lonely, 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 lonely time. So if they get eliminated, that will also add to the theory that baseball has completely convoluted and watered down the playoff system so that it's actually a disadvantage to be one of the good teams that gets to bye in the first round. Not sure I'm buying that, are you? That sitting out that first round of the playoffs was detrimental to the Dodgers and the Braves, and that's why they lost. And it could happen to the Yankees as well. The only team that got home that was a top seed that sat out the first round so far has been Houston. So anyway, I don't know. You disappeared there, Louie. Are you okay? Are we still working here? Let's hope so. I'm just going to keep yapping anyway. All right. It's always interesting when things go astray. We're off to a weird start here. So Dave Hyde's going to join us later on. He's got a lot to talk about. And Scoop Skolnick on the advent of the NBA season, the Heat not exactly garnering a giant dose of respect from the analysts out there. Many people are feeling that the Miami Heat, now I know that's not common in town, but many people are feeling that the Miami Heat are not necessarily going to have a great season. All right, I have to ask the magic question to Mike Lubie Lubitz. Are we on? Are we on? Somebody tell me if you're hearing me out there on the chat line. Are we getting through to you people or not? Or am I just yapping for my health here? Let's do this. Let's take a short break if we are alive and come back. Oh, okay. We're having a reboot. So I'm going to cease talking for a minute. And we are on. Okay. Thank you very much, Andy. Very good. Julian says we're on. That's good enough for me. And I've lost track of Lubie. He's sending me texts. A little bit of a Michigan start here to the program. So very disappointing not having the baseball game last night. That forced me to watch a little bit of that football game. I was trying to stay away from the Denver Broncos. And you know what? It was an interesting game from a lot of different perspectives. It's always interesting because of the Justin Herbert thing and the fact that we have Tua coming back now with the Miami Dolphins, and everybody's always debating, should we have drafted Justin Herbert? I think we would have been far better off here in South Florida had we had Justin Herbert as our quarterback at this point. He wasn't brilliant last night, but it's far more of the prototype than you're getting with Tua, who will make his return and hopefully be okay. The Dolphins sit there at 3-3. They have the Pittsburgh Steelers on a Sunday night at home. This was one of those very winnable games. It was one that you put a ring around at the beginning of the season and said to yourself that this is going to be an easy victory for Miami. Pittsburgh, downtrodden team, trying to search for a quarterback. Ben is gone. Big Ben retired, and they really didn't answer their quarterback situation with anything of great significance. They're still trying to figure out who it's going to be. The kid they drafted out of Pittsburgh, up and down. I mean, showing some rookie struggles. And Mitch Trubisky was somebody that I read a bunch of stuff as the season was getting underway that was alluding to the idea that Trubisky was going to be good and was underrated and had been unfortunately disparaged because he was in a terrible situation in Chicago. And a lot of that may be true, but I don't know that he's distinguished himself so far this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He comes on in relief of Pickett, and he acquitted himself very well as Pittsburgh was able to hang on there and douse the flame that was being sparked up late in the ball game by Tom Brady and company. And I do think it left Brady examining the magic question: was it really worth it to lose Giselle to have the season that he's having so far with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They look a far cry from being a Super Bowl contending team, where a lot of people had them as either the second or third favorite in the NFC to win it all. Some people even had them favored to win the title. So that looks like it was also a very mistaken premature evaluation, because not much happening there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Wow, I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in, you would think would be an easy win for the Dolphins, who badly need to get back on track. For those of us that were inclined to take the over on the 8 and a hook, they have to go 6-5 the rest of the way. Now, we know they have treacherous turf to navigate as they get to the end of the season, the Miami Dolphins, because they have 4 really horrific-looking games, very monumental mountains to climb, as they're going to be on the road in cold places, including Buffalo, New York, at the end of the season. The last 4 games on the schedule definitely look to be as challenging as anything. We all thought the first 4 games were going to be very much the same. The Dolphins sailed through 3 of them and found ways to win. Looked like a very electrifying up-and-coming team. And in the last 3, I'm not sure it's fair to really judge the Dolphins off what happened in the last 3 games. They were in them. It's not like they were getting destroyed. So I'm assuming, and you can probably go out there and unload on the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game, but I am assuming that the Miami Dolphins will have some kind of a decent bounce back in this one, and hopefully Tua Tagovailoa will look good in the process. The line on the ball game right now has the Dolphins are favored by 7 points over the Steelers at home on a Sunday night. And that would also be a spark to have an interesting Sunday night game to take a look at. All right, Dave Hyde's going to join us in just a few minutes here. I started in a million different directions here today, and then it got very confusing because still don't know what happened to Mike Lubitz. He wasn't there in the beginning of the show, and he's disappeared again. And I'm thinking it's about time he reinforced his Wi-Fi at the crib, so to speak, that he's operating out of, because lately it's been like a disappearing act. Very inconsistent, something that we really can't afford to have here on the South Florida Live channel that we created for the Defo Show. And, of course, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, which spectacular time yesterday. Jim Sarney, by the way, what a man, brings a cake out to the party there. Frank Tallarico, great host. Our friend Joseph Payne is managing the place there, Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar. What a terrific, atmosphere there. Right on the beach, man, with great food and drink. You can't beat it. And they treat you right. So we want to thank them for having us in yesterday, as we had Mike Mayo's Lunchbox celebrating Lubie's birthday. And it turned out to be a really, really good time. So had a whole lot of fun. All right. We're going to try and throw it to a break here, I think, so that we can bring on Dave Hyde. I haven't seen Lubie, and no word. His whereabouts are parts unknown at this stage. I think he is a graduate of Parts Unknown High School. So as we attempt to fix things up, I'm Jeff DeForest, and I can tell you that Hialeah Park is a dynamite place to go anytime, and I just love all aspects of it. I mean, you talk about 3 phases of greatness: champion simulcasting room, poker room, and the casino, which is lights out. It's more lights on, because people are winning jackpots and having a great time. We always recommend you get a player's card there. The rewards program at Hialeah Park is absolutely sensational. They give you all kinds of amenities and freebies, including, the 2 words that really go best together when it comes to any kind of casino gaming, and that is free play. Think about the concept there. Free play, man. You play. If you win, good. You keep the money, and if you lose, it's all right, right? If you win, you win, and if you lose, you still win. It's fantastic, because you're right back there to even after you use the fabulous allotment of free play that they give you just for signing up and getting a player's card. And if you're a VIP at any other casino or gaming entity, they will match that status. So if you're like a double, triple, super platinum, diamond, gold, seal wheel play like the Mustang is, she's right back there. Super duper double platinum gold seal wheel play at Hialeah Park with the player's card. And you get all kinds of entitlements, like I said. They make it fun for you. They have all kinds of special events there going on all the time. It's beautiful Hialeah Park. The ground's as impeccable and just as spectacular as ever. Dennis Tested does a great job there. And it's kind of a family fun thing. There's Lubie. He's showed up again. It's great. Well, what's happening with you, kid? You left me hanging out here to dry in the middle of a rambling dissertation.
For you going this whole time, that's impressive.
Well, the people are saying on the chat line that we were on, although you disappeared, which I find amazing.
That's amazing that I host a thing and you were able to still do this show without me. That's actually makes
Well,
me.
that's kind of an interesting concept here. Kind of keep all
Jesus.
the money to myself or whatever's coming in as it dribbles in.
There you go.
All right. Are you okay? What's going on over there with you? Do you have any idea what's happening?
The internet people are coming later, and no one told me that. So we're going to do our best to get through this show, and then you'll see a very different background from Mayo's show because I will not be here for that show. I'm not taking any chances. No one told me that the internet here was struggling. It's good to know. Considering I do
show yeah. Especially since we're life and death depending on it. It's kind of like Aaron Boone going to the bullpen. Bunch of other stuff was happening. Did you see this? I'm going to give you a name here before we get into Dave Hyde here. See if this rings a bell with you. Does the name Shun Fujimoto ring a bell with you? Shun Fujimoto. Does anybody out there know the significance of the name Shun Fujimoto? And why would an old Jewish fart like me bring it up on a sports talk show on October 18th of 2022? Shun Fujimoto. There was a reason for it. All right. And you know what it was? Did you see this kid last night? I mean, you talk about this guy's got to be the special teams player of the week. Dustin Hopkins, who I believe was an FSU guy. Was he a Florida State guy? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, was he the only good kicker in Noel's history?
We had Janikowski, and then came, I think, Graham Gano. Then came Dustin Hopkins, and both Gano and Hopkins are in the NFL now.
Yeah.
Then came Aguayo, who looked to be good and then was not good in the NFL.
No, he was a bust, man. He was right up there with his Zendejas. What were they? They were all cousins. I don't think they were brothers and a cousin. There was like Max, there was Luis, there was another Zendejas. And as I've told you many times, I covered a little Luis Zendejas football when he was a kicker in Southern California. I think he went to like, I don't know, Don Lugo High School or something in Southern California. And he was kicking 50-yarders in high school. That was an amazing thing to see because most high school teams, especially at that time, you're talking about mid-'70s, late 70s. I mean, you were lucky if you had a guy who could get the ball in the air, from a place-kicking situation. And then here comes the Zendejas clan, and they're booting literally like 50-yarders in high school. Things of beauty, too, with like spin and everything. But this guy, Hopkins, your Florida State alum, not only came across as a really, really down-to-earth guy. I mean, his post-game interview was great. I mean, he did the usual, I got to, pay homage to Jesus Christ. I don't mind that. I blow past that. Because sports and, religion to me, like separation of church and state. But nonetheless, I mean, if you want to, say that these kicks went through because Jesus guided them, that's fine. All right. However they got through, they got through. But he goes 4 for 4 kicking field goals with a bad hamstring.
He was hurt. Yeah,
on his kicking leg.
They weren't going to have him kick, but the guy, J.K. Scott, had never kicked.
Yeah.
So they're like,
and he kicks like 4, decent mid-range field goals on like 30-plus on all of them. I think they were all between 30 and 40 yards. Goes 4 for 4, makes his extra point. And unfortunately for me, the Chargers did not cover. So, a bad omen. Francesco creeping back into the game after getting buried to the tune of 2-13. Rattled off 3 wins in a row in the last 3 NFL games. It's okay. You know what? Still well ahead of the pack here, and I think I have enough of a cushion to, at the worst, break even for the season, even if this guy gets red hot. But the Chargers laying 4.5, and man, I mean, the dynamic is just always in play when it comes to the spread, is it not? Russell Wilson, by the way, Dinkin and Duncan, those were very deceptive stats. He hits his first 10 passes in the game. He did complete one down the field to a wide-open guy on a blown coverage. That was a good play by Russell Wilson, and that was more typical of what we saw from Russell Wilson in his heyday as a quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. But the rest of the game, he was worthless. Just complete garbage for $250 million. I think he went like 4 for 15 the rest of the way. And Denver had like 3 first downs from the first quarter on, and they lose in overtime. Surprisingly, the Chargers kept self-sabotaging themselves. The officiating is so atrociously subjective and so poorly legislated right now.
The roughing and administered. Such a garbage.
Oh my God, that call has to go. I'm sorry.
They're just doing. If you hit a quarterback and he goes down, that's roughing the passer.
They don't even go down. I mean, literally, the guy just barely brushes the guy after being knocked into him by one of the offensive linemen. And, they brush jerseys, and here's a flag. I mean, it's killing the game.
I just don't get it.
And then you see, I mean, and Troy Aikman, please, Troy Aikman, seems like the nicest guy in the world. But so there was a defensive back on the Broncos who had 3 pass interference calls against him, and he is the number one guy in terms of being guilty of pass interference over the last 4 years. I think he's had, some exorbitant number of calls, more than any other back in the league over the last 4 years, right? So this guy gets called 3 times for pass interference. Then finally he knocks the ball down, and on the replay you can clearly see he's got the guy's jersey with the offhand, which is sort of hidden from the official. And Aikman's like, "Well, that's the way to bounce back." What a great! It's like, Troy, he's got the guy's shirt in his mouth. He's eating it. Your job is to notice these things. I saw it. Everybody saw it. The entire country saw it. You're paying a guy $90 million to be an analyst on the game, and he's going, "Ho, that's the way to do it. That's what the pros do." It's like, who needs you? I mean, I'm screaming. Why wasn't that a flag? That the guys, I mean, and a crucial play also on a third down. That naturally I had money on the game, so
exactly
became even more exacerbated. And, more critical that this guy was blowing a call. But, I mean, why didn't they call him for another one? Because, I mean, he clearly had – did you see this play I'm talking about where he stops a third down pass and forces the Chargers to punt? And, I mean, just clear cut. He's got the guy's jersey in his hand. And officials looking right at it, and he misses it. And so does Troy Aikman. And then goes on to this long-winded hyperbole about what a professional this guy is, because after getting flagged 3 times, he was able to make this tremendous stop. But when he's just as guilty of pass interference as he was on the previous 3, in fact, even more so. Right? And Joe Buck, how about this one, man? I mean, and she's a very attractive woman, but I didn't even know Joe Buck was married.
Carissa Thompson is
That's not his wife. No, this is
so who's
his wife? His wife is doing like pregame stuff. Okay. On the Monday night game. Krista Thompson's on the Amazon thing and Fox. Okay. Yeah, she's a very attractive woman also. But his wife, Joe Buck's wife, was a former cheerleader, became a broadcaster. And she somehow, believe me, out of nowhere, never saw her before on TV, worked her way onto the Monday Night Football broadcast. What do you think? Was that part of the deal? So not only did they bend over backwards and put their heinies in the air and pay this guy $8 zillion to come to work for him to do nothing that was going to attract any more fans to the game, but they also had to hire his wife as part of the deal. Well, we need to get more leverage somehow, Louis. I don't think we're going to do it this way with the internet crapping in and out. And me sitting here going, "Are we on? What?" All right, Dave Hyde's going to join us here in just a couple of minutes, and Scoop Skolnick later on. The NBA season cranks up tonight. You think they are pretty clever there with NBA scheduling? What do they have to kick off the season? Second game tonight? Warriors, Lakers.
Nice.
A marquee West Coast matchup. And you have the Celtics, which would have been a good matchup, although they're in such disarray. Many people are discounting them altogether. And, of course, they had to get rid of the coach there. And I don't know if Udoka ever works again. Most people are saying no. And the Celtics, who had their share of turmoil, obviously, in the offseason, go against the 76ers, who – did they surprise people this year, Lubie? I know people have been waiting forever for the process to finally play itself out.
I don't know. They think that NBA people. The Nets and the Sixers are the teams full of head cases, and the NBA pundits want to believe in them. Head cases are head cases. It doesn't change. Like, we've seen that. That's why it's funny that he gets discounted every year. But the Heat are the team with a bunch of guys that just want to play basketball and win. And you see every year they find their way. You're like, it's not by luck. Like you see the same thing with the Bucks. If the Bucks are healthy, the Bucks seem to find their way there because they don't give a shit about all the bull. They're literally their super duper star goes to Chick-fil-A to celebrate a goddamn title. Like, there's a reason that, look, the same thing with the Celtics, and I can't stand them until now with their coach. They found their way there every year, even though people wanted to discount them. Like, personality clashes matter, especially in basketball when there's only 5 people on the goddamn court. Like, I don't know. I think
we'll see. I mean, very unique head cases with the Nets. I mean, you have Durant, who no one's been able to figure out, even though he seems at least dedicated to the game. Kyrie Irving, no one's able to figure out. Maybe Kanye West can figure him out. They seem to be following similar parallels. And then Ben Simmons. I mean, God, you talk about a head case. Wow.
Well, the thing the Sixers.
That's 3 head cases from 3 wildly different worlds. At least James Harden, as a head case, I don't think Embiid, you couldn't consider him a head case. He would be, I think, a dynamic leader.
You need Harden. Like, to be great, you need Harden.
Yeah. I think he's all in. this year. That's my prediction. All in, James Harden. Going to put aside all of the ego and all of that stuff and just capitulate to what it takes to be a great winning team. Well, we shall see. All right, we're coming back with more. Let's get to Dave Hyde. He's coming up next. Scoop Skolnick, always brilliant on basketball. Great way to start out the basketball season with a little scoop analysis, and we'll find out what he thinks. I'm thinking he probably has a higher opinion of the Heat than the rest of the world does. Because I was reading various commentators and their opinions about what was going to happen in NBA previews, and most people think that the Heat just didn't do anything special in the offseason, even though they were very good. They did lose P.J. Tucker. They didn't do much to compensate. I don't know if this rookie kid, who showed very well in the preseason and in the summer league, I don't know if he's going to have any great impact. But and I'm not sure that he's going to compensate for what P.J. Tucker brought to the table, which was an element of toughness. That was great. Bam Adebayo could take off this year finally. He was shooting threes in the preseason, and you're thinking Tyler Hero got the money. Is that going to be the kind of pacifying condition that has him off his game, like it was when he discovered that he was very attractive to women? I'm sure he knew that at Kentucky, right? You don't think he was nailing some of those Kentucky babes? All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. Hialeah Park, great place to go, as I mentioned. I kind of got cut off there talking about Hialeah Park, but a brilliant place to go. We love them. Check out Hialeah Park for all of, any kind of gaming you want to get involved in, whether it's horses, cards, slot machines, Vegas-style games. Hialeah Park is the place to go. And we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I got to get organized here. It's 7:42. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine foods served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
David, are the Dolphins evolving into a well-run franchise? Chris Greer has made some interesting moves. I mean, regardless of what they've tried to do, they win 5 games, 10 games with Brian Flores as coach and Greer as the main guy in the general manager's chair. Now, with this small little fire they had going with Xavier Howard, that they managed to put that out and douse those flames before the season gets underway. What's happening with this Dolphin franchise? Is it possible that they are finally on a path to go in the right direction?
Oh, God, I hope so. How many years I mean, as a poor sports writer, having to cover mediocrity to less than mediocrity for most of 2 decades. I hope so.
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show on this fine Tuesday. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubitz. And we welcome to the program. This is always great for us. And one of my favorite social media posts of recent weeks was a picture, a little one of those reels type of things where Dave Hyde is opening up a box, and inside the box are the initial copies, I would imagine, from the first printing of the book Swagger that he has done in conjunction with Jimmy Johnson. Can't wait to get my hands on a copy of that. Of course, we're hoping Dave will send us a freebie. It's a lot easier than having to order one and pay for it and then bill it to the company, write it off as a tax proposition. But we welcome to the show the author of that book, Swagger, and many others, including The Perfect Season, and the outstanding columnist and a preeminent columnist here in South Florida. With all due respect to Greg Cody, he's been around a long time. The great Dave Hyde joins us here on the show. David, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, and how can I not send a copy of the book with such a beautiful introduction? It was like Christmas Day opening that box and seeing Swagger staring at me and Jimmy's football face, his serious football face on the cover. So a lot of fun that it's come out. Or it's actually in sales next month, but it's a finished product now.
I mean, unless, I've gotten involved in various failed business enterprises, including with a friend of mine who has a printing company, Marty the Party Sachs. I thought we'd print up a bunch of shirts with the words fully vaccinated. And then instead of the exclamation point, it would be a syringe as the exclamation point at the height of the whole COVID craze. And I thought these would sell like hotcakes. I still have all 250 of them. In case I'll send you one. I'll tell you what, I'll send you a fully vaccinated shirt. I have them in black with white lettering and also white with black lettering. And I always get a raised eyebrow or two when I'm on my walk of life and I'm wearing them. And then I have a for sale sign on the back. But I will trade you one for a copy of the book. I think you're getting the short end of the deal there, though, because I would imagine the book sells for far more than the money we had invested in the shirts. Yes.
I've had previous book ventures. A 72 Dolphin book that's actually out on Amazon now as we celebrate the 50th anniversary. But the first printing in the 30th year when it came out, 6,000 copies, the final 6,000 copies of a 10,000 run burned down in a warehouse. So trust me,
that's good.
know failed business ventures. Yeah.
Somebody asked me yesterday, actually, we were out doing a remote with Mike Mayo for his Lunchbox show, and general manager of the restaurant there, a good friend of ours named Joseph Payne, he says, Defo, why don't you write a book? And I was thinking, I can't. I mean, I'm good in short spurts. I could write stories. I could write articles. But, sustaining the ability to write a book, from start to finish and having it be interesting all the way through. I mean, how different is that for you, Dave Hyde, than just your daily routine of writing columns?
Well, that's part of the reason I want to do it, because it is different, and like in any job, it's fun and stimulating to do something different and to get to work with Jimmy, get to work on the same side with him where you can ask him anything and he'll tell you and open himself up with good thoughts. And let's face it, Jimmy's a lot of fun to be around, right? You guys have been around.
Yeah.
He's great.
It was, that was part of it. But the writing part, the discipline and all that, but it's a different style of writing and you get to really stretch yourself and stretch your subjects in a way you can in a daily column. So, from that point of it, the craft point of it, it was good to do as well.
Now, has Jimmy read the book? Has he approved of what you put out there, or are you guys still on speaking terms?
I sure hope so, because it's printed. It's sort of what was it, Charles Barkley, who said, I didn't say that, and it's in his book. I certainly hope we don't have any of those moments. No, he's read it. He likes it. And it's on a few different levels as I see it. It's a sports book in that you get a lot of stories of the Hurricanes, the Cowboys, the Dolphins that you won't have heard. It's a leadership book, tells you how, to come up with innovative ideas and how to lead a group. And then it's, Jimmy opened in a soul book about the struggles or the sacrifice to succeed at that level. Inside, shortchanging your family and then dealing with family issues. His son Chad was an alcoholic, or he is an alcoholic, but now he's turned his life around, and he runs two centers to help alcoholics and addicts, and so it was interesting on all three levels to write the book and talk to Jimmy about it.
All right, that's good. No, we didn't want to see you in a situation like that golf writer with Phil Mickelson, who was doing the interviews, and he got Phil very candidly saying that the Saudis suck, and then Phil took a check, that was written in Arabic, and then the next thing you know, he was calling a guy a liar and said, "I never said any of these things." So we don't like to see relationships.
Never talked to Alan Shipnick. Yeah, a little odd. I don't think we'll have that.
Yeah, we don't like to see things fall apart like that after the final product is on the shelves there. All right, very good. Dave Hyde with us here. Now you had, like we did, a lot of optimism for this Miami Dolphin team, and you've been doing a lot of coverage on the Dolphins. You had a great article about Mike McDaniel, who I said this yesterday. I don't know if you see the same thing. His press conferences now are making him look more like, I don't know if you remember when Truman Capote used to be interviewed all the time. The author of In Cold Blood, and he kind of had this very mild-mannered and oddball way of speaking. And McDaniel has sort of morphed into that a little bit. Not that he wasn't enthusiastic before, but that there was a much more upbeat tone to the things that he was saying. And now that he's lost 3 games in a row, the story might have changed a little bit. What do you see there? Should we just put a line through the last few games because of almost like a whack-a-mole situation with the quarterbacks, or is the team really now rising or lowering itself to the level that people thought that they would be at the beginning of the season? Many of the experts.
Well, I'm interested in McDaniel. He's you look at the start of Sunday's game, and he had receivers running wide open. You see how good his offense is. How when it's clicking and when they're running, guys in motion and confusing the defense. And Skylar Thompson, he looked pretty good there at the start. And again, guys were running wide open. So you see there now he's got a 3-game losing streak, and this is where head coaches make their money, right? I mean, this is when things get tough, and the quarterback getting to a back will help definitely. But they got to clean up other things. They didn't lose Sunday because of the quarterback. They lost because they had 3 turnovers to Minnesota's 0, and they had 10 penalties to Minnesota's 2. Those are the things that they got to clean up, because whether you have your starting quarterback in there or not, you can't go 3-0 in the turnover margin and then have 5 times the amount of penalties as the other team and win games.
Are they starting somewhat from scratch on Sunday night? I mean, many people thought they might be doing well to go 3-3 first 6 games. They're certainly 2-2 through the first 4. So I don't know that it's a tremendous aberration from expectations that the Dolphins are sitting there at 500.
No, they're in good shape. I mean, as far as the standings are, that's not an issue. That look, they've played 6 games. Each team, nobody's below 500. New England at 500 is the worst record. Everybody else is above 500. That's a tough start. And you knew the first 4 games were going to be tough. Now they play 5 teams with losing records and a bye week thrown in. So, this is the place to make hay in the schedule, and they should. In a few weeks, we should be saying, well, they straightened everything out, and look what they did to Chicago and Detroit and Pittsburgh. Because these, if they are the team people think they are, they pick up their schedule and they win what, 4 or 5?
5 in a row.
I mean, they're going to be favored in all 5. They're going to be favored in all 5 of these upcoming games.
Well, and so we all know, and by we, I mean, I include you because you've done a lot of conversations with us in regard to Tua, how I feel about Tua. I was high on him, and I think he, in some ways, vindicated me before he got hurt, where, I mean, he was playing really well. He was rated as a top 10 quarterback, and that's where I figured he was top 10, 15. So that's great. And him coming back, like you just said, Dave, should make them better. But again, he could be playing behind Greg Little, who I didn't know you could have a 1.9 rating I didn't know that was a thing. That's how bad Greg Little's been in between being out because he gets hurt like 3 times a game as the third string guy. Teron Armstead's been hurt every game, now missed a game. The rest of that offensive line, it seems banged up. Even Connor Williams, who's played really well, has been banged up. So as good as Tua should help them, playing behind that line, he may not survive. So what are your thoughts on, even with Tua back, the way that offensive line has just been sort of how this team can get back even against that lower competition?
Yeah, it's an annual problem. And when they bought Teron Armstead, when they paid the big contract, you looked at the number of games he's played, and he's missing 5 games a year. And guys don't get healthier in the NFL. No one expected a toe issue, but you figured they're getting a guy who missed about a third of every season. And so that was a roll of the dice, a roll of the desperate dice, because there weren't any other big figure options for them to left tackle. But you know what? Every team's got offensive line problems.
Yeah.
You look at the Chargers last night. They've lost their All-Pro left tackle. They're on the third center. New England's lost players. Every team is losing players, and the question then becomes depth and coaching, and how well you fit this roster around what you need, and so. No one's going to sit there and say, well, they lost because Austin Jackson hasn't been around, or but Greg Little had played pretty good until last Sunday when he just got taken apart by one of the better pass rushers in the leagues, is Darius Smith. So they're fortunate that T.J. Watt isn't playing for Pittsburgh, that he's out, and otherwise, it could get ugly, and you'd have some fear for Tua.
When you do, I don't know if you take part in those Who Has the Edge things anymore in the Sun Sentinel. But, the Dolphins have to have a big edge in the intangibles because they get Stephen Ross back this week.
No, you said that. You didn't say that.
I don't think anybody's really taken that into consideration. Yeah.
Well, it really matters this week because Brian Flores is coming back to town.
That's true.
Oh, that's right.
Brian, who has the edge? Who has the edge? Brian Flores or Steve Ross?
Oh my God.
Interesting, yeah. So Ross will be up there agonizing on Jerry Jones type fashion as Nat Moore feeds him another hot dog and says, "Don't worry, Steve, it's going to be okay." Marino has that look of concern. I always love the shots of the Dolphins executive booth because they were usually imperiled whenever they shot the camera going in that direction. But we'll see what happens. I actually think McDaniel distinguished himself pretty well because he's been dealing with a lot of adversity. That's not easy to do. Juggling quarterbacks like that, going down to a third string guy playing as a rookie. It looked like he had him doing things that were extremely favorable in the beginning of the game. They probably should have had more points on the board. I know that's a cliche, but they got 6 straight 3-and-outs from the Minnesota Vikings, supposedly with a new improved wide open offense under a new head coach, and they were moving the ball, but they just weren't putting points on the board. And unfortunately, then Thompson got hurt, and Teddy Bridgewater actually had some success, even though everybody said that he stunk the joint out. But it wasn't until late in the game that things eventually crumbled, and they were more or less in all 3 of the games that they lost. So I don't think that's bad considering the dynamic they were dealing with from the injury standpoint.
They dominated. You look at the stat sheet on
They
Sunday.
dominated that game.
23 first downs to 11. They had 450-something yards to 234, I think, in Minnesota. There wasn't any problem with the offense or moving the ball, or it was, look, Jalen Waddle had a bad day. He was responsible for 2 turnovers, including the one that effectively ended the game. They had 3 turnovers, and the penalties, and those are the things that crush them. So, look, you can see how McDaniel's going to succeed. The innovative thinking on offense, and when he picked Skylar Thompson over Teddy Bridgewater to start on the basis that Thompson would practice last week, I was like, wow, that's a unorthodox move, because you a 7th round rookie who hasn't started a game over a guy who started 70-something games and was 12th in the league last year in quarterback rates. But you know what? He came out and he made it work until again, another quarterback goes down, and Thompson, he has been dealt a crazy hand these first 6 weeks as a head coach.
Well, and we're talking with Dave Hyde here, the Sun Sentinel, and also author of the book that's going to be out for everybody's consumption and purchase, Swagger with Jimmy Johnson. You haven't seen any moves from McDaniel that made him look like he was an inexperienced rookie. I mean, it's hard to scrutinize anything in a negative fashion that he's done so far. I mean, I don't even know if there are many plays that you could question or play calls. Just a couple of things here and there, but that happens with all coaches. And if the cliche is applicable that the best thing a coach can do is put his players in a position to win, I think he even did that under kind of difficult circumstances the last 3 weeks, and he found ways to win, manufactured ways to win in tough spots the first 3 weeks. So I would have to say, so far, I mean, I guess what I'm asking, Dave, is it worth a shot at 12-1 to bet McDaniel to be the coach of the year in the AFC?
That's what it comes down to. It's always
yes, I mean, it always boils down to degeneracy. You know that. But you were open to coming on the show.
Look at the New York coaches right now. They're the clubhouse. Sala and Dable for what they're doing. So, but yeah, I mean, again, in 5 weeks we could be saying Mike McDaniel, coach of the year, right? Look what he did with the quarterbacks. Look how he navigated that 3-game losing streak. So yeah, I mean, there are quibbles with what he's. They were very aggressive at the end of the first half. They were at their own 11, I believe, with 28 seconds left, and throwing downfield, and that's where Waddle, lost. He dropped the ball and it got intercepted, and then they went. I haven't heard the logic. I can guess the logic.
They're going for 2?
They're down. Yeah, when they went for 2,
I didn't get that.
They just scored. They came within 7 points, and they're going for 2. And I get the analytics logic of that, but is that the right decision? So I mean, these are small picture detail quibbles. So in the big picture, the question is going to be, can he keep this team pointed? Can he? In the last couple of games, they've had a lot of penalties. Now they're 28th in penalties. At some point, as it did on Adam Gase, we're not there yet with McDaniel. It's too short a period. But if this keeps up, these are the things he's got to get his handle on. The other thing is, at some point as an NFL coach, you got to be a jerk and get people back in the lineup. Austin Jackson's missed how many games with a sprained ankle? And I'm not singling. I don't know injuries and all that stuff, but at some point, part of a coach's job is getting people back out there. So, we'll see how it's been a good start for him under difficult situations. Coach of the year. Let's see what happens the rest of the way.
12-1.
I might take those odds, though.
That's the thing.
Yeah. 12-1. That's pretty good.
He should be a top 6 candidate right now.
Not bad. I mean, AFC.
Because, I think in a few weeks they'll be, somewhere 8-3, 7-4, something like that, and his stock will be up again.
His candidacy will be rising. I mean, right there with the MAGA Republicans, and Herschel Walker. All right, Dave Hyde with us. One of the great things about Dave Hyde, very versatile, and you have to be a columnist, in any city and be the number one guy at a major metropolitan newspaper. And the Heat will be opening up their season tomorrow night, the Miami Heat. Now, I read a bunch of preseason previews, trying to familiarize myself with what's going on in the NBA. I mean, it's kind of a chalk league, so naturally everybody thinks, the two teams that are going to be in the finals, are going to be teams that were at least in the semifinals last year. Many have the Warriors repeating. Where do the Heat stand, in your opinion? It seemed like they were not held in the same usual high esteem that we see in recent years, or have seen in recent years, with the Miami Heat as preseason favorites to do something significant. What do you see there on the horizon for the Miami Heat? How would you assess what they did coming into this year?
Well, when they went to the finals, was it 3 years now? 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Nobody picked them to do that. Last year, nobody picked them to come within a missed 3-point attempt by Jimmy Butler of going back to the finals. So and they're in the same situation again because they don't have look at the other teams have made big moves this offseason. They've and you look at their roster, and for whatever reason, Jimmy Butler isn't considered to be in that top tier of superstars. When you look at what he's done since he's been here, and it's like, how could he not be? I mean, again, he carried a team to the finals. He carried an injured team to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and again, one shot away from going to the finals. So if they have a good year again, it'll surprise people again. You get Spoelstra; his teams always get better over the course of a season as he figures out and finagles how to get more and out of them and how to use the players. And the odd part of this season for the Heat is everybody's back. It's essentially the same team as last year, for better usually, in that you know everybody, and you work together with the players and the team, and for worse is you like a little freshness, and I'd assume at some point they have to get a power forward. Maybe they prove wrong as they're going through their preseason and what Caleb Martin's playing there or whoever, but you think they need a little more size and rebounding.
I think Butler doesn't garner that type of respect and all the hyperbole as a superstar because his shot just isn't pretty. I mean, you watch Kawhi Leonard shoot jumpers, and he does all this other stuff that Jimmy Butler does as well, and you're thinking, wow, now that's a superstar. But Jimmy Butler's sort of inconsistency from the outside, even though he's a dynamic scorer when he wants to be, I think probably prohibits people from putting him. And maybe the reason that they don't see that winning is really the bottom line, and he's always a major catalyst into any type of success that the team has, and very rarely is somebody that you look at and say, wow, man, if it wasn't for Butler tonight, the Heat could have had that ball game. All right, I want to touch on a couple of quick things here, Dave, and appreciate your time, but the Cats got their season underway after a really disappointing floundering effort in the second round of the playoffs last year, and many people thought that was the best team they'd put together for a long time. They pull a monster deal off and get a new coach. This Matt Tkachuk, we know, is an accomplished player and has to be an asset. People were, I don't know, I guess down on Jonathan Huberdeau for lacking aggression when it came to taking shots. But, I mean, he literally was the John Stockton of passing the puck. I mean, just fantastic on assists and helping the team score. Where do you see them? I mean, they won their first couple of games. They lost last night. A couple of really pretty goals by the Boston Bruins against them triggered that victory. 5-3 they lose, so they're 2-1 on the season. Do you see them being a huge factor throughout the year this year? They had a sensational regular season last year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they won the regular season last year, and now they've built them. You talk to everybody out there what the moves were made for. And I was out there last week before the season, and they're made moves to win in the postseason, and they're going to change how they play. To the idea is to keep the same offense, but add a grittier level of defense, and that wasn't the reason why they got Tkachuk, but Tkachuk fits into that what they need. He plays with an edge. He plays. They were a pretty team last year, and I mean that in a good way. And that you go to games and you might hear fans chanting, "We want 10 for goals."
Yeah.
That didn't translate into how the playoffs are done. And so look, Huberdeau was 29, Tkachuk's 24. One is purely an offensive player. One's an all-around player. So you see, it was kind of a no-brainer. Guys at Tkachuk's level just don't come free, and so you see why they made that move. Now, how it all works out, you're gonna have to wait till the playoffs, because if everything was done for the playoffs, not for the regular season, and the idea is to get in a system that fits the way they can work in the playoffs better than the wide open, Harlem Globetrotters type of game that they had last year.
Dave Hyde, always a pleasure. We thank you for sharing time. I did want to touch on Mario Cristobal, but we'll save that for another conversation. Hopefully, after he accumulates a couple of more wins, to see where the Canes fans are at with regard to yet another savior who's come in here, who they quickly were ready to turn on after the loss to Middle Tennessee State, which by all rights, was somewhat of a disgrace. The book, can people pre-order? I mean, where can people get their hands on a copy of Swagger?
Absolutely. Go on either Simon & Schuster or Amazon, and Swagger's the magic word, Defo. That's you got swagger, right?
Not anymore, man. It's 71. I have a walker with tennis balls on the four corners there. Yeah, it's the old Dean Smith thing. People wondered why a case of tennis balls is showed.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Swagger, Defo.
Yeah.
Drenched
you got swagger. You talk with swagger.
Definitely.
It's funny because I had a Mustang order a case of tennis balls, and I'm still playing, but the neighbors actually thought it was from my walker. They said, "Did you really need that many cans?" I mean, how frequently do they wear out? Because they were concerned about their own. Dave, we love you, man. Thanks so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and best of luck with all of your ventures. And I think this one is going to be far more of a success than. I mean, who figured that you would have a book burning of those proportions, and have that as part of your resume?
Down. I still remember watching the news, seeing my still perfect books burning. But thanks for having me, Defo. Good talking to you. See you, Lubie.
Hyde, man.
All right, always a pleasure. Dave Hyde, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Scoop Skolnick's coming up here. Scoop is great. Of course, worked for all of the newspapers here in the so-called metro area, if you could call it that. Right? He did the trifecta: Palm Beach Post, Sun Sentinel, and Miami Herald.
Yes.
Is immersed. I don't know anybody that's deeper involved in NBA and Heat coverage than Scoop Skolnick, and he started a national thing now, so we'll ask him about that. And of course, I don't. Outside of Ira Winderman, I'm saying it's 1 and 1A between Scoop and Winderman.
Yeah,
probably on longevity, a slight. I don't know if I give a slight edge to Ira, but he's been there since the very inception.
He does a great job. I have nothing against him. Scoop does as well. I love talking to Ethan Skolnick about the Heat.
Yeah.
His in-depth knowledge, and the thing is, he does have an inside. Like, he is really close with them, and he's always respected them. So he gets information not everyone gets. Winderman and him pretty much.
They're right there. They're right there together, I would have to say. And I mean that in the highest of complimentary fashions, because both guys do a great job. Ethan's going to join us. We haven't, I don't know, was Winderman asking for a fee? Have we contacted Winderman about
I know he does stuff with other people and has fees, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We just don't do that.
Because we certainly weren't amenable to considering that. You gave him the old thing. If Feinstein and Iron Eagle come on for free, what are we paying you for, Winderman? No, Scoop is great, and we're of course associated with his 5 Reasons Sports Network. As do we air daily on 5 Reasons with some of our stuff?
For the most
okay,
part.
Great.
And this daily.
Yeah, well, this will be good because then we can use Scoop and his segment on his own network.
Exactly.
Fantastic. All right. So he's guesting on his own network today as well as guesting with us. Scoop Skolnick coming up in just a few minutes here. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. I mean, speaking of Dave Hyde, I'm hoping Dave can make it down there once we formalize a date. Why are you laughing? I'm amazed that Tommy Fox shined on a high school reunion. He's the type of guy that would really enjoy that sort of thing because, that was a tight-knit group. That whole St. Thomas Aquinas group with Tommy Fox and John Congemi, and of course Larry Calvano was a part of that thing. A guy that owns Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, and the Jimmer is great. So I can't wait to get down there. I'm looking very much forward to that, and let's hope that comes together very soon because it's a wonderful place to be. You see, the pictures I guess are fantastic that we have on our video spot for Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, and yet they don't really tell the story because as spectacular as those aerials are of the waterfront and all of that, the real pleasure of it is being down there inside the place and getting that good vibe that you get from people that are having a great time in the Keys. And it's extremely relaxing, and at the same time, it's also intensely exciting to be at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, especially if you have a significantly, well-oiled palate like Mike Mayo. I can't wait to bring the Gambling Gourmet down there because he's going to love it, man. Did he put his finger in a fish dip yesterday?
No, he didn't do the finger in anything yesterday, thank God.
Okay, because it was finger food.
It was finger food, but
I don't consider fish dip to be finger food.
No, it's not. You take the
not if you're sharing it.
And you dip it, one dip and eat it. And he
didn't do one of these where he put it on that chip?
He was good, thank God. Yeah,
right.
he was good.
All right, let's hope he behaves himself when he's down there, because he could get away with a lot at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. It's not like people are going to crucify you for having zero etiquette, but they wouldn't mind if you were at least somewhat well mannered, even though it is the Keys. You're going to love it. Great food and drink, tremendous atmosphere, great place to take in all the sporting events that are going on. I mean, this without question the wildest time. We've had that debate: is it springtime or the fall? The best time to be a sports fan. What more could you ask for, right? Today, you've got 2 playoff games, I guess, because the American League Series, is continuing with the Guardians and the Yankees, and the National League Divisional Series gets underway with the Padres and the Philadelphia Phillies later on tonight. So, big sporting landscape. It's always a great place to take in all of the sporting events, and this is a terrific time of the year. The weather is supposed to turn just slightly cooler, no more abnormally hot 90-degree temperatures, so that makes it even more pleasant to be in the Keys. And there's nothing like lining up with something great to eat and a couple of margaritas or chugging a few beers at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That's mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. I would imagine people will stay away from Alabama Jacks also lately, and those greasy cockforders, because, is Alabama Jacks representative of, like, Alabama? Now that they're losers, people will be heading, I would think, associate with a winner like Jimmy Johnson at the Big Chill. All right, coming back with Ethan Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network, and he has a new podcast. I don't recall the name of it. I've seen it a couple of times.
Fansided is the site that it's attached with, and he'll talk more about that when he comes up. Doing NBA as a whole. And he's still doing it with 5 Reasons. So he makes sure to tell people, I'm not leaving. Like, you're still going to get your great.
What was Fansided the thing that was started by our friend Scotty Kaplan, who used to toil here in South Florida? Or is that something different?
No.
I thought he was associated with that for a while, because he's out in San Diego. And really one of the pioneers of leaving radio and getting into streaming. Scott Kaplan, a good guy. Works, you see him sometimes, I guess mostly on the West Coast broadcasts of CBS games. Might be more of a regional thing, but we'll find out. Anyway, Scoop always on to new adventures, and we're very proud of the fact that we love anybody that can start from scratch more than once and make it happen. So Scoop Skolnick joins us next here on the Defo Show. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest. Glad you guys are with us. Thanks for all the comments there on the comment line. We always appreciate that. And we'll be back to talk NBA basketball, Lubie's favorite topic. Is that your number one sport, NBA?
No, I watch football more than anything now, but I can talk NBA whenever.
Yeah, you love the NBA. I mean, you absolutely do. I'm a huge basketball fan, as I am virtually all sports, with the possible exception. I did take exception with Jim Sarney making fun of the fact that baseball couldn't be played in the rain, but soccer somehow was, which I don't know that it was played very well by the Miami team. They got shellacked in New York, but it's a whole different thing, man. I mean, you try holding a bat and hitting 100-mile-an-hour fastball while it's pouring rain out. I mean, it's not safe to even put people in that situation. Ball's all wet, weighs like 100 pounds. Yeah.
Playing on dirt. You can't play on dirt in rain. It'll turn to mud. Like, what the hell's the point of that?
Outfield soaked, puddles out there. You can't do that. Soccer, it doesn't matter, right? What are you doing? You're kicking a ball around as if you were kicking around a skull in the Byzantine Empire. I told you, the game was invented by a mutant society that had no arms. All mutants. All right. I don't mean to make fun of people that have no arms, but, you get the illustration. All right. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Can't say anything anymore, Louie. You can't say anything. It's 8:19.
Hey, folks. Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Hi, guys. If I could squeeze in two. One is just, can you say with certainty that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster on Sunday?
I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday, so I can't guarantee who will be on our roster on Sunday. So that goes for all of us.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubie Lubitz, and there he is. All right, man. Talk about the man with the entrepreneurial spirit here, and now launching new ventures on top of the new ventures that he just recently launched that became highly successful. Our good friend Ethan Skolnick joins us here on the show, 5 Reasons Sports Network, and what is this new thing that you're doing? National NBA. Holy Rachel Nichols, man. You were branching out, Scoop. How are you, my friend? What's going on? We don't have the sound on Ethan Skolnick. I got to hit that microphone. He should know, if anybody, how to operate this sort of stuff. Let's see. Louie, we need to do something here. Press a button so that we can get Ethan's thoughts. He's shaking his head. No, not a senor. This is the debut of his national podcast. Nothing, huh? All right. Let's, reorganize or try something and see if we can't make it happen. At the very worst, we can get Ethan on the phone. What do you think? Is it a problem on his end or our end?
I mean, there's nothing for me to do, so it is what it is. We'll let him try and get back on. If he can't, then we'll do phone. It is what it is.
Okay, all right. We'll see if we can get that going because it's always great having him on the show. And as I said before, I mean, very impressive. When we start talking baskets with Ethan, and he'll go back to like the 1986 Cavaliers team, and then name you like 6 guys that came off the bench for that squad, whereas we couldn't come up with even a single name that was a part of that. Always very impressed with Ethan Scoop Skolnick's basketball knowledge. All right, we're going to try and pick him up. It'll be audio only, and our 2 ugly faces will have to carry the video portion of the program. As Lubie, let me know when we have Scoop on the phone lines. Are we ready to go, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Ready to go with Scoop Skolnick. Here we go. More buttons being pushed.
No, I got
Ethan.
him.
Ethan, how are you, my friend?
There you go.
Ethan, how are you, my friend?
Good. I got the wheel of death here.
What happened?
I'm not sure exactly. I'm not used to it. I don't know. I got the wheel of death before 9 in the morning. I'm trying to unmute. Now I've got the wheel of death on my computer. Did Lubie send a virus to me? What the heck happened here?
I don't know. Was Sasha playing with the computer? She would be able to fix it, I would think, your daughter.
Honestly.
The way she's going, man. I mean, she is
I know.
just looking like she's going to win a gold medal in figure skating, and then maybe even find a cure for cancer before this thing comes out in 2030 that everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
How are you, Ethan? Everything going well? Because tell us about this new venture that you have going, because it sounds interesting.
No, I appreciate it. I can see myself here on the little video camera. No, it's going well. Actually, we're going to be doing a podcast, or I'm going to be doing a podcast for Fansided now. That's more of a national NBA feel to it. So, it's a lot of the same stuff we do at 5 Reasons. We're going to start once a week, and they didn't have one. And obviously the NBA podcast space has gotten a little bit crowded, but I think we can do something a little bit different. And I'm going to introduce, some of the more younger contributors around the country. I want to give, some voices to people who may not have gone the traditional route. So we're going to do something a little bit different. This will be fun. Nothing's changing at 5 Reasons. I'm still hosting 5 on the Floor. I'm still running the network. I'm still, doing accounting. I'm still doing management. I'm still doing all these things I'm not trained to do. So none of that poor work by me will be discontinued in any way.
Very good. I mean, we were saying, and we mean this in the highest of complimentary fashion, so that it's you and Winderman 1 and 1A in terms of in-depth and intimate knowledge of the Miami Heat and great coverage over the years. I was, as I was saying earlier in the show, I was reading some NBA preview stuff earlier this morning, and it seemed like there was a lower regard for the Miami Heat than you would anticipate. Is this not typical? I mean, and I would imagine Pat Riley would feed on that and try to motivate this team. But what's different about this year's team that people might have them, a shade under where they were at a year ago, especially with the Celtics team in disarray in the East?
Well, LeBron Tucker left for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I was thank you.
Because there is this trend. I don't know if you've noticed that when players come to Miami, they came here because their careers came to die, right? Like Jimmy Butler came down here to retire. PJ Tucker made a stupid move, leaving the Bucks for the Heat, right? Like, but then all of a sudden, when a player leaves Miami, that player is now elevated to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar status. So that's essentially where we're at. This literally happened with Josh Richardson a couple of years ago. He was going to tear the world apart. What have players? I know PJ Tucker's a little different because he's an established guy. He fills a specific role. I like PJ. They like PJ. They wanted to keep PJ. They weren't going to pay the tax, and get hard caps for PJ. I understood that, particularly the circumstances at the time. They feel they can go tilt more offense now. They felt they were limited offensively in the playoffs with PJ, and they have other options, and they're going to introduce these options. But it's just amusing to me because, like, nobody gave a damn when PJ came to Miami, but now all of a sudden, Miami is broken because PJ Tucker left. I'm sorry, is he Jimmy Butler? Like, I don't get it. And so, look, I have him third in the East in the regular season. I think it could be, a little better or a little worse than that. Okay. But they're a top 5 team in the East. This idea that they're a play-in team now, which some have suggested because they lost PJ Tucker. I mean, guys, they weren't healthy last year, and they were the 1 seed. Like, so what? I mean, their top 4 guys, if you're going to include, Lowry and Hero is 3 and 4. They hardly played together. Now the playoffs, even with Lowry and Hero being awful, okay, and injured, they were within a 3-point shot of the finals. So to me, like, I'm not understanding why this is, except that, everybody was wrong about the Heat last year, okay, in national media. So they're doubling down on it. Mm-hmm. And so that, I think that's where they're at. I don't see them being worse. I really don't. I think they've given Eric Spoelstra some clay to mold. And when they do that, he typically finds something. And if you look at what they came up with, I like the starting lineup. I think, are they going to get out rebounded at times? Sure. Okay. But I like the cutting that Caleb Martin offers, more athleticism. They're going to get out and run a little bit more than they typically did. Tyler Hero is a better catch and shoot player than he is an isolation player. And that fits what they're going to be doing with him in the starting lineup. Jimmy's healthy and in good spirits from everything I hear. Bam has clearly taken on a mindset change in the offseason. Yeah. We'll see if it sticks. And they've got Oladipo back, and I don't think he looked real good in the preseason games, but at least he's integrated now. So I'm sorry, I'm missing where the doom and gloom is with this team. I think they're a very good team.
Well, my thing is, why do they have to go make a move? Like, the only move they had to make was replace Tucker. And Jay Crowder really feels like it's a possibility. And if you can get Jay Crowder, there you go. So, and the thing is, the big question mark going into last year wasn't getting new players. It was, can Bam and Hero grow? Well, they did. And it feels like they can do it again because Heroes still hasn't started a game. So why can't Hero take another step? And why can't Bam, who openly admitted, look, I need to be more aggressive. He pulled a Kevin Durant, was in rec games all off season, was doing tournaments. He's shooting threes. Like, he's doing interviews now. He's doing podcasts. Like, the dude has shown he's taking another step. Just that alone makes him a better team. Plus, Oladipo didn't play the entire year and was a key cog defensively in the playoffs. He had his first healthy offseason in a Heat uniform. Why can't he automatically make them better? Like, to me, within, they have more growth than a lot of teams have. And I guess it's hard for national media to consider that.
It's funny that you threw it. He's doing podcasts is one of the reasons for his improvement.
I just think he's grown mentally. Like, he's been wanting to take a leadership role, which has never been his thing.
Is he on 5 Reasons? Did you hire him?
I will. I'll trust you. UD's getting that. UD's getting served with papers to join 5 Reasons as soon as he retires.
Nice.
But look, I'll say this, okay, that I think that they are really well positioned in terms of this build. We did a podcast on this the other night, Greg Sylvander and I, on 5 on the Floor, about how they have built, okay? Their builds are not 15 to 20-year builds like the Sacramento Kings or the New York Knicks. Okay, their builds are like 3-4-year builds. Okay, and you look at their builds in the late 90s. It was, you got Zoe, they got Timmy, they got Mashburn. They took it as far as they could. Pat tried to change it. Zoe got sick. Right. They had the build into the Shaq years. Okay, then they had the build into the Big 3 years. Then they had the build that was supposed to be, sort of with Bosh as a centerpiece after LeBron left, and Bosh got sick. Okay, Bosh and Dragic and Dwayne were supposed to be the centerpiece. Well, this is the Jimmy Butler build. But the thing about this build is that they've kind of protected themselves on the back end of it, because now they've locked up Bam and Tyler. So as Jimmy sort of, maybe recedes a little bit over the next couple of years, the projection is that Bam and Tyler are going to continue to improve and can kind of be the faces of this thing. And I really don't see a reason why they can't be. Like, I'm not saying it's championship worthy necessarily, but when I look at it, I'm like, okay, Tyler's gotten better every year, and he has gotten better every year, by the way. Okay, this idea that he was better in the bubble is ridiculous. Okay, he has gotten better every year, and Bam has gotten better every year. Now it's about sort of refining that stuff and figuring out exactly what it is they need to improve on. And when I've talked to both of them, Tyler's talked about being a better isolation player, not needing a screen, being more active defensively. Okay, he knows what he has to improve. I think he can get there. Okay, maybe not as a great defender, but I think on the offensive end. And Bam, it's clear. Like, there's not a question about Bam's skill set. Like, nobody is saying Bam can't do this or what. Everybody's saying Bam won't do this. Yeah. Okay, so if Bam is going to decide that he's going to do it on a more consistent basis, not every night, okay, but we've seen it. He's had nights where he's taken over, and it doesn't have to be shooting threes. Okay, it can be taking guys off the dribble. It could be the mid-range. It could be getting to the line. He could be a top 15 player in this league. I don't think there's any question about it. He's not that far away from it right now. So I think they're fine. They have good role players. I like Strus a lot. I like Vincent a lot. Both of those guys were question marks before last season. Caleb Martin was a two-way. Yeah. Now he's a starter. Okay, so and the kid Jamal Cain, who we interviewed the other day for Five on the Floor, he's going to play. Okay, they like him a lot. And Jovic. I mean, Spoelstra threw. Yeah, I mean, Spoelstra threw him in the starting. I mean, threw him in with the starters the other night. You don't think he's going to get minutes? Yeah. So they've got a lot of different options, and I really think people are honestly. I think they have a rough start. This is going to really test them. Their first 8 games are against good teams. Okay, they may come out of this 3-5 or 4-4, and people are going to panic. I think they're going to be fine.
The great Ethan Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network, and now going to have a national podcast on the Miami Heat with fans cited. So very excited about that. Let's expand the conversation to some other teams. Part of my perusing of NBA previews, there are people that are, and maybe for good reason, are very high on the Cleveland Cavaliers after they acquired Donovan Mitchell. Mm-hmm. They have an emerging star who, people are saying, well, he should even be better this year with Donovan Mitchell, paired up in tandem. So who do you see on the horizon as a team that might be on the come? I guess you would have to incorporate the Cavaliers into that picture after that dynamic trade that they made.
Yeah, I think so. Look, I think that the league is kind of as balanced at the top as it's been since I've been covering it. They're, even in talking to Heat officials when I was down in the Bahamas, they believe there are 8 to 10 teams that can win a title this year. That was not always the case. I mean, we were going into season saying there were 2 or 3 teams that can win a title. Yep. I think there are 22 teams or so that think they're a playoff team. And what's going to be fascinating this season is when some of those teams that don't look like they can win a title decide we're going to tank for the 7-5 guy.
Oh my God!
And so I think that that's an interesting. So, like for instance, when we talk about like Jay Crowder, okay, then I'll get to Defo's actual question in a second. But we get to Jay Crowder, okay, like I don't think there's going to be many trades made in the first month or two. I think teams are going to assess what's going on, and then in December and January, then teams are going to be like, all right, we need to get bad fast. Okay, and I think that I think that's what the Heat are kind of waiting on, is that there are going to be good players from bad teams that are dumped just to kind of have a shot at this kid, and generally kind of go that direction. So I definitely think that that's an option here. As far as teams, look, Cleveland is going to be good. I think they're going to be good for a long time. I don't know if they're going to be ready to take a huge step this year. the East is interesting. I mean, we talk about the problems in Boston, but they still have Tatum and Brown, and they added Brogdon. Okay, so I think they're going to be good.
Yeah.
Milwaukee, I picked them to come out of the East, but the Middleton injury is troubling. I mean, he's going to be out for a while. I like what they did this offseason. I think Giannis is the best player in the world. Although I think Luka is going to win MVP, but I think Giannis is the best player in the world, and so to me, they're formidable. Brooklyn, I don't know, man. Like, I discounted them all last season, but Kyrie's going to play this year. It appears. I mean, it feels like he feels like it, and they added to their rotation. Like they actually have some defensive players now. So, I'm not going to count out KD. And look, Philadelphia will absolutely collapse in the playoffs. Harden Thank you. Okay, but they may be the 1 seed in the regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, they have enough talent to do that. So you're looking at all those teams. Okay, then you've got Cleveland, right? Then I really like Toronto's roster. Actually, people are sleeping on them. Atlanta, probably being overrated right now. Okay, but they'll be competitive. So. And look, the Bulls are here opening night. I mean, they're probably the 9th best team in the East. They were leading the East at one point last year. They still have DeRozan and Levine and Vucevic. Like, they're not bad, okay? So I just think that you're looking at, like, 10, 11 teams in the East that are pretty good. I think Cleveland probably fits into that kind of 5 through 7 category. Yeah. I think the Heat will finish ahead of them. I do. I just think Miami has more options to go to. And I also think look, Miami's going to rest some guys. Okay, Butler and Lowry are probably both not going to play more than 65 games. Get used to Gabe Vincent starting some games. I think that's going to happen a lot. They're going to sort of assess him for the future too. Jimmy's going to get some nights off, and Max will start for him. But like, I think people are underrating how good this coach is when you give him pieces to work with. And they're doing it every single year, and I'm just like, at this point I just don't understand it. And look. The West, I mean, Golden State's loaded. The Clippers, if they're healthy, are loaded. Phoenix won like 70 games last year. They're not going to be awful, okay? Dallas has Doncic. The Lakers will be awful. That I can attest to. They're playing, but like,
and the Nuggets can't be discounted.
Nuggets, the Grizzlies.
Yeah, Denver is healthy. So I mean, there are. I mean, look. Like I said, this is the most competitive. There's no A team this year. No. There are a lot of B+ and A- teams. It's going to be very interesting.
Well, okay, in that, and you went to the West, which is where I wanted to go, because to me, it's hard for me to not put the Warriors a notch above. And I get the Jordan Poole, Draymond. I don't think that matters. I think Draymond's leadership role in that group is sort of fallen back a little bit. Like Steph has seemed to really take on that role. But the fact that you're going to add Kuminga into the rotation a lot more this year, the fact that Wiseman's healthy and that guy has all the physical ability to be a beast and he could be their 6th best player. To me, the Warriors are almost, I don't want to say getting forgotten in a sense, but the fact that the Celtics are on the same level as the Warriors to me is weird. The team, you brought up the Nuggets, and people want to make the Clippers that next team. The Nuggets healthy are scary as hell to me. And like even the Grizzlies are really good, but if you have Murray, you have Jokic, and then the swing man that's always hurt, but is got that extension. Michael, I forget his last name. Like, and then Gordon. They have a lot of talent. And they play defense, and Jokic is not flashy, so he's going to keep them fundamentally sound. They're sort of forgotten because of the injuries, but if everyone's healthy, that team's scary to me, and they're the team I think that can go take out a Grizzlies and really compete with the Warriors.
Yeah, I'm with you. Oh, you mentioned the Grizzlies. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I know.
I actually picked them to finish first in the regular season out west. I think Denver is really good. No question. I want to see how all the pieces fit together now, though. They played a little different way with Porter and Murray out last season. They clearly make them better. But I just think, I need to see it. But that's the deepest roster they've had in the Jokic era there. So they're good. But I honestly think Memphis. I don't think Memphis wins the West in the playoffs, but I think they get the 1 seed. And the reason is they just have tremendous depth. Yeah. And I feel like they're built a little like the Heat in that way. I think. But my thing is, and one of these times, Ja's going to fall and not get up. And I just, he has to learn to play differently. Dwayne had to learn this. Okay, it probably cost Dwayne years on his career because I fall down 7 times, I get up 8, right? Like, but he has to play a little bit more disciplined. He can't try to dunk over everybody. But their roster is really good. And so, yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be some teams that win like 20 games. Okay, the Spurs and Jazz may be historically off. Okay, on purpose. I think Houston will be a little better than they were. Detroit will be a little better than they were. Orlando will be a little better than they were. But again, all of these teams, the goal is a 7'5" guy.
Yeah.
So I think what you're going to see is a lot of teams winning 55 games and a lot of teams winning 21 games. I don't think we're going to see a lot of 35.
All right, a lot of ground to cover, and we appreciate your time. I know you're very busy with all of these different projects, and as you said, now in management there with 5 Reasons Sports Network, in addition to being a top-flight talent there and all your various performances with the Heat season cranking up. So if you don't mind, Scoop, just a couple of quick takes on a variety of things that we want to kind of get a little more rounded here in the conversation, although I want to come back to the Heat for the first one. Over under 10 minutes of regular season playing time for UD this year. Over, under. 10. Let's make it 10 and a hook. Will he play 10 and a hook in the whole regular season?
Total in 82 games.
82 games.
He's going to get 48 minutes. He's going to get 48 minutes, but they're all going to come in the last game. Because they're seating settled.
Oh, that could be a killer, yeah.
And Spo's just going to run him out there, and then he'll go straight into ownership. But, yeah, I 48 minutes, but all in the final.
All right, so the under players are, sweating right now after that. Ime Udoka, does he ever coach again? Does he ever become a head coach in the NBA again, the Boston Celtics coach that left in disgrace? And did we ever find out who this woman was? Was it the owner's wife that he was having an affair with?
I don't know if we ever found it. I do think he coaches again, but I think it'll be the way that guys coach again, which is that he'll go be a lead assistant somewhere, and then the coach will get fired and he'll be elevated. That's typically when coaches have these kind of issues or disgraced in some way. Look at Brian Flores in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying he's the heir apparent to Tomlin, but I could see a scenario. Let's say that Mike Tomlin steps away from the game for some reason or whatever. That we have this guy who was the head coach of the staff, and he gets that. And I'm not saying Flores was disgraced in any way, but I'm just saying that there are guys. That's typically how this stuff happens when coaches have some kind of problem. They end up somewhere else and they get elevated as an interim coach and then eventually get the job. So, yes, I do think he'll coach again. And I think he's a very good coach. So this is all kind of unfortunate.
Does Anthony Davis play 50 games this year for the Lakers?
Wow. Are we counting the playoffs or not?
No, regular season. This is all regular season. I don't know that they make the playoffs.
I will say. I don't think they do. I think they're a playing team. I will say 53.
Oh, nice.
Right above.
Okay, so that's a pretty good season. Pretty hefty load for him. Zion Williamson. What happens with Zion? What direction does he go in?
Half the season.
I actually think Zion goes the positive direction now. The fact that he did that work on his body this offseason and kind of did it quietly.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. We haven't talked about that team.
Well, Pelicans and T-Wolves.
Pelicans, right? Yes, could be good.
Yeah, both of them. So yeah, I think Zion's got it. Unfortunately for Zion, I think he is getting some of this stuff under control. Nobody says they don't like Zion. That's not the problem. But the thing is, I think he's always going to have injury issues. I think he's one of those guys. But I think he will turn the right direction this year.
Yeah, nobody seems to, and he was such a lovable character when he was. I even started. I wasn't rooting for Duke to win any games, but I was looking for him to have great performances. And then you're thinking, wow, let's see if this guy can do it at his height in the NBA. In the low post there, and he was so quick and so dynamic, but unfortunately, it didn't seem to be all in terms of the Jimmy Butler-like commitment that he's going to be in better shape than anybody.
He was all in on cheeseburgers.
Well, New Orleans, you've been there, Scoop, many times, I'm sure. That can be a killer when it comes to food.
It's not even the cheeseburger.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
No, it's the shrimp and all the rest.
Yeah.
The grits.
Anything with A2 flame.
Yeah. No,
Beignets.
Yeah.
All right,
beignets. No doubt.
Which net will snap first? Will it be Durant, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, or Steve Nash?
Oh, geez, that's good. That's good.
Oh wow,
That's great. I like.
Who
oh,
will snap
is,
first and have a scandalous or an
uh,
incident?
Oh, geez.
You can't count Kyrie because he's snapped a long time.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
true.
he
Never
doesn't.
came back.
I'm gonna go with Ben.
Same answer.
I'm
Okay.
gonna go with Ben. I don't think he holds it together. I don't.
All right,
It'll be
sounds
Ben.
good. The most impressive rookie this year will be who in the eyes of Scoop Skolnick?
Actually, I think Sacramento finally found one. I think Keegan Murray is going to be really good. Now they'll screw it up. They won't build around him properly. They'll do what they did with Tyrese Halliburton and dump him for a guy who's a good player, but not going to carry them anywhere. But I actually think Keegan Murray will be the best rookie this year. But like I said, I'm not saying he's going to be the best rookie, but the kid in Miami is going to be impactful on a playoff team, which is going to be interesting to watch.
How many games into the season before the first traveling call is assessed to Giannis?
Games.
81.
Exactly. All season, they're never gonna travel.
It's like pass interference. If that wasn't pass interference, what was it? I'm a big advocate of calling traveling when it happens, and we know it's liberal in the NBA, but these are extremes. I mean, these are almost MAGA-like extremes that we're looking at there in terms of the lack of accountability.
On January 6th.
Exactly.
In honor of the anniversary of the insurrection. Ethan, always a pleasure, man. We look forward to all your stuff and a new venture. Again, fan-sided. You get the, national landscape here now. And of course, always great with Five on the Floor and everything with 5 Reasons Sports Network. We appreciate being a part of it. And, what's always great about your appearances here on the show when we run our segment on 5 Reasons is that you're a guest on your own network, which I don't think there's any better position, than to be in that situation.
And my wheel is still spinning on that little TV thing. So, I'm not sure what Lubie did to me. So there you go.
The wheel of death. Yeah, he had me doing that earlier this morning. I think it's Lubie's internet. He's got to move out of that crib that he's in. Ethan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for spending time with us. Brilliant as always. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot. Ethan Scoop Skolnick, man. So you can throw anything at Scoop, and he will have
that's why I enjoy having him on. He could talk Dolphins, honestly. Like, he's actually really good with the Dolphins. There's too much going on with basketball to jump over to the Dolphins.
I'm thinking it's interesting because they cover all of the local sports here on that 5 Reasons Sports Network, and they have like a zillion guys working there making contributions, which is cool. And you don't get that anymore. I mean, you know me. I mean, this is an age-old argument with me. I'm looking at like 25 pages in this New York Post sports section today, where they've covered virtually everything. In fact, it was a guy named Brasiler. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. The reporter that they have on basketball in the Post. And he says, so they did a bunch of it's called a shoot around. They have a nice little, perspective page here on different things. Of course, they covered all of their local teams, so all 3 teams. We didn't mention the New York Knicks in that conversation. Did you notice that?
Yeah, there's no
By
room
the way, are they inconsequential? All right, so the question was, and they had 3 guys, including our good friend Mike Vaccaro, weighing in on these things. Which team will be worse than expected? Which team will be worse than expected? And Brasiler names the Miami Heat. And the rationale is failed to make any significant additions, whiffing on swinging a trade for Durant in the offseason in particular. While other contenders in the Eastern Conference improved, they won't be a part of the upper echelon of the conference. How about that?
I just don't know who improved. I mean, the Celtics one got Brogdon, but they don't have a coach. It shows to me they don't follow the Heat at all. Like, they were in the conference finals and they stopped watching basketball because in New York they hate the Heat. Like, that's literally. I look, you never know what's going to happen because the Heat are counting on Butler and Lowry, 2 guys that are older. So, look, if those guys get hurt, it changes things. But I don't see these teams improving like the Bucks are missing their second best player, and he had a bad injury, and so whenever he does come back, it's going to take time. And the Nets, it's all about wishing and hoping on guys that are head cases. Same thing with the Sixers. The Heat, every guy's in. Even Lowry, who said that stupid thing about I don't listen to Riley. That's a load of garbage. he knew exactly what Riley said, and he's gotten svelte compared to what he was last year. Like, Spoelstra still doesn't get it. It's funny. I lambasted him early on because I hated his rotations with the big three. But since then, the dude's the best coach in the NBA, and it's not even close. Like, the fact that he does more with less is impressive. Now he has talent. Like, it's just funny the way that the national media hones in on hating the Heat.
Well, you know me. I'm not always a big believer in the idea of Heat culture.
Yeah.
No, and I think of culture as like Louis Pasteur looking at my refrigerator when I was a bachelor and saying, even I wouldn't touch that or put it in any kind of, a petri dish there to try to figure out what the hell it is and whether or not it can cure something. But I mean, very, very interesting. I think you alluded to something that, people often overlook in analyzing sports. And it probably doesn't happen as much on the pro level, but you do see this sort of thing evolve. And Scoop touched on it. And that is the ability of a team to improve from within.
Yeah.
The teams that make these dynamic trades, that has a lot of flash to it. But then, you'll see the usual, parentheticals and precautionary statements about, well, it's going to take them a while to gel together.
Okay.
Which, that certainly is logical. But the Heat not only have already gelled together with the group that they have, but they do have the ability to improve from within. And they've shown that over the years. So I think that's what's overlooked by a lot of analysts. They don't see anything, and so they tend to discount maybe one of the few teams that you can actually say, wow, I mean, you really do have to buy into the whole idea that there is some kind of culture that the Heat share with each other and as an organization, that somehow, even when it doesn't look like they've got all kinds of cash and flash going for them in an off season, that they still have to be considered as one of the real contenders, because they know how to go about their business, and they do a great job of that. So we shall see. Anyway, it all gets started tonight. 2 games on the slate, Mike Lubie Lubitz. You have the Warriors-Lakers game, and the 76ers, are they going against the Celtics tonight? I think that's the other game on the NBA slate.
Yep.
So we'll see what the Celtics are able to do, after all of that turmoil in the offseason. And, of course, the 76ers, a very interesting commodity. Scoop kind of made, a reference to, and in a disparaging way, James Harden's disappearing act in, his whole D.D. Cooper thing in the postseason. They came close. I mean, Embiid, can he kind of use his spirit to lift these other guys up? I don't know. And then the other dynamic that is going to be very interesting, because think about it. Ben Simmons at one time was considered one of the great defensive players at his position in the NBA, and we know he can distribute the basketball. So if Kyrie is actually, playing ball, who cares what craziness he's up to in the rest of his life? If he's out there playing, man, I mean, nobody finishes at the basket better than Kyrie Irving, and capable of going off any night. And even while the team was in turmoil and disarray last year, Kevin Durant still had a great season. So I don't know. I mean, that'll be a very, very interesting team to watch as well. And Julian says the Knicks are a sleeper.
I mean,
they got Brunson. I don't know if that's enough to put them over the top. I'm not buying it like you, that was significant enough to make all the difference. But they were a very good team just a couple of years ago. And one of the Cinderella stories.
And banged up, and then they got in the playoffs and lost in 5 games to the Hawks. Like, I mean,
yeah.
It's not. That's the thing. It's not a hating thing. It's just the East has gotten a lot better. Like, it just has. Like, I mean, the Knicks made smart moves, and they didn't go on to Mitchell, and I give them credit for that, because Mitchell would have made them a 7th or 8th seed, and they would have given up every draft pick for the next 10 years. Like, you might as well not do that and be a 9th or a 10th seed and keep some room financially for growth and with the guys you have. I don't think the Knicks are going to be horrible. I just think the East has a lot of young talent, and there's not really room for them to make waves. It's just that it is what it is.
I'm kind of hoping Zion does well this year. I'm not a fan of guys that don't put themselves all in. I mean, you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars, like a few $100,000 a game to play basketball. I mean, just give it what you have, right? Like we do every day here on the air, even though the money is quite insignificant in proportion to what an NBA player is making. But nonetheless, I mean, you should, at that point, you're a professional athlete. Just like we talk about the guys that don't run to first base. You bat 4 times in a game and you can't run out a grounder. Come on, Lubie. I mean, usually have zero respect for that type of player. But I'd like to see Zion Williamson succeed. because he was a very entertaining player to watch because you always like the undersized guy that can go in there with the Redwoods and battle with the big men. And very interesting, too, because it's going to be Tank City. Adam Silver, we'll see how he addresses that. As, I mean, he may have to go Bowie Kuhn and negate a couple of trades. No, you can't. You're trading Joe Rudy and Catfish Hunter for what? For a backup catcher from, Syracuse? Get out of here. Yeah, because everybody's going to be tanking for this. What's the guy's name? Waya or something? Whatever it is. Can you pronounce it?
I heard it enough, and I did watch a couple of his games that when I find it.
Shoots threes. He's 7'5". I mean, he's not awkward. So, we'll see what happens with that and the tank job, which is a disgrace anyway, because that is something that is easily fixed.
Victor Wembanyama, I have not seen a prospect like him since LeBron. I mean, he's a different. He to me is the combination of Durant and Giannis. Like he shoots the ball at his size, like as though he's a guard / forward, small forward, but he ball handles and has the athleticism of a Giannis. It's very interesting. Plus, he does play defense. Like for his height, he plays defense. And unlike a Chet Holmgren, he has size. Like for a guy who's
fragile,
and 7'5", he has some muscle on the dude. So it's like, oh my God, he's scared. Like the only thing for him will be like a Zion kind of a thing. Is he surrounded by people that make him better, or does he get into, all the glitz and glamour and not take his game? Because that was the thing with Giannis. Giannis was a middle first round pick. People didn't really know him. So he had this chip, and I don't know if this kid's going to be that. Like, they're drooling. Like, this kid is, I haven't seen a kid like him since, like, just his abilities are freaking amazing. Like, even the professor and I were like, I don't even know. Like, I don't.
Yeah, we'll see. Is Chet Holmgren going to be the modern day Greg Odom, you think?
Feels like it. They were worried about him getting hurt, and he already is hurt for the year.
Wow, for the year.
He looks super frail.
All right, we're going to come back and wrap things up. We'll have time to say goodbye here in just a second. I want to get in a few important messages. Tomorrow we go old school with Tony Segreto. That's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. Thursday we have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. And I'm hoping for it was sensational last week, the professor with a strong comeback after the censorship issue on his Nazi material, which is all bunching a couple of weeks prior. I mean, he really used that. I mean, you talk about chip on your shoulder.
That was great.
It came in with an attitude there and turned the tables on us, that's for sure. And the people that helped assist in that decision to scrub the overwhelming half hour of Nazi talk. That what are we, Alex Jones? I mean, here, what the hell are we doing? All right, we're coming back in just a moment. Thanks for sticking with us, people. Now that. But it'll be a Degenerate Friday on Friday. Mike Mayo's a part of that, too. It's 8:58. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of old school. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
Whatever jackpot there could be to get in with women, I've certainly experienced it. And you've experienced some of that too, Mr. Birthday Boy, of just a couple of days ago. How did you enjoy the Bamboo Beach, return to the Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar?
I really hope we bring that relationship back because it is always such a great, it's so funny. Like, I hate that I do this, but I forget that it's there and that's my fault. Every time I'm there, it's like, you feel like you're not in South Florida. You feel like you're on vacation and you can just forget about all the nonsense and just enjoy yourself. It's such a great time.
Yeah, and people are always asking on the Mike Mayo Sun Sentinel Let's Eat South Florida page, 90,000 strong, where we air the lunchbox as well, which will be coming up at 12 o'clock here on South Florida Live. Hey, where can I go and get something great to eat and be right on the beach? I don't think you can get any closer to that.
There's no better.
And combine it with great food. I mean, I don't know that it's underrated because people know to expect something good there, but you got the feeling and the sense of why Frank Tallarico is such a successful restaurateur. Because A, he's willing to take chances, B, he believes in what he's doing, and C, he delivers with a high-quality product, and he believes in quality. And the other thing that's very interesting there, same people have been working there. Like, I didn't realize it was 18 years ago we started going there, doing shows, like 2004. Because Frank's had the place since 2004, and a lot of the same people still work there. You know, whether you're talking about the bartenders outside or the servers at the Bamboo Beach or the Casa Calabria. So that was a lot of fun yesterday. You can check that out. That's also in our archives there and running 24 hours on South Florida Live. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox yesterday from the Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar and Cafe celebrating Lubie's birthday. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock today with Mike Mayo and the Lunchbox. Tomorrow we go old school with Tony Segreto. And after mailing this check, he's going to be on me again. I have it right here, Lubie. I'm going to put it in the mail finally today.
I did him last week. I believed you'd already.
No, I sent it out, but you sent me the wrong address for Tony Segreto.
Okay.
So fortunately, it came back to me, and then I realized what happened was, when my phone got stolen, my text messaging, archives there only goes back to when I turned this phone on. And Tony's address wasn't in there, or it goes back like 12 years, which was the last time I used this phone because I'm using like a flip phone now. So, so all of that, like my memory is erased, and you can't necessarily put it together. It took me a while to come up with Doug Moe today. I mean, I was trying to think, hey, famous Denver Nuggets. Daryl Imhoff, was he also a famous Denver Nugget? Daryl Imhoff. Do you remember the great Daryl Imhoff? That might have been ABA days of the Denver Nuggets. Woo! Let's go way back into the distant past. All right, we'll see you guys at 12 o'clock. We're going to make some progress here with Mike Mayo, who was very lively yesterday. And thanks to Jim Sarney. Sarney is really a mensch of a human being, man. Comes out there and brings a cake, schleps all over town.
Well, Mayo brought the cake.
Mayo brought the cake.
And brought me a card, which was very sweet, and I appreciate it.
Yes. And I like the fact that he's very much like me in that regard, that I signed a card, and I was thinking, why does it say sorry for your loss? So he must have got it on the way over there, like at the gift shop or something. And they were out of birthday cards. Nice job, Jim. No, I'm only kidding. That always happens to me, right? On Valentine's Day.
Oh, you can't do it on Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, I'm going to like CVS at the very end of the afternoon there because I'm ashamed to come home without any flowers. So I pick up the flowers at a gas station. Although CVS sometimes has flowers, but they're always out by the time I get there. They have that one, bouquet of roses, a dozen roses, and they're all like wilted. Looks like something you would hand a kid on Halloween, to walk around if he was going to be some kind of a devilish character. Yeah. And then all the cards have been annihilated. It kind of looks like the shelf, around of water around the time of an approaching hurricane. And so only down there in the bottom, it says, sorry for your loss, right? They have the sympathy cards. And you have to go there and cross out that and then write, Happy Valentine's Day, I love you, and see if you can get by with that. And, well, maybe that's why we have problems with women. See, you're good about this stuff, Lubie.
Oh, yeah, well, because Shirley trained me. Shirley, in her early days, was a lunatic, so I'm like,
does that mean that you mean it though? If you've been Svengalied into doing this,
she doesn't care. That's what because that's the other thing is you would think. I always say, I'm like, yeah, but it's not because of me. She's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay,
that's all that matters.
Just do what you're supposed to do. I'm glad you just fall in a line like that.
It's not like fighting. I get too tired of fighting. Like women are really good.
Oh, I don't want to fight with anybody
I hate the
anymore.
fighting.
I really don't. I'm even being polite to this collection agency that's hassling me for money that we already paid like a year ago with a canceled check Mayo brought me. I mean, come on, man. Get off my back. All right. I wrote them yesterday. I said, here's the stuff, and I look forward to your written confirmation that we bear no responsibility in this case.
Yeah, good luck.
No, the lady was very nice. As collection agencies go, I didn't even mind talking to her, especially since I know that we already paid.
Oh, wait, yeah.
You could see what happened here, though, right? I was starting to talk about this in the beginning of the show, and then we kind of got lost there. But yeah, I mean, radio stations, the most unscrupulous of people are in anything from, not the performers. They're great. Dedicated people trying to entertain. And then, I mean, you get your occasional asshole, but, for the most part, everybody is very, very cool. I've really enjoyed all of my associations, both with, the electronic and print media here in town, as evidenced by our good friends that came on the show today, Dave Hyde, Scoop Skolnick, and, of course, Tony tomorrow. But you can see what happened. I mean, this radio station was sold, and the new owner made off with the last month's receipts
100%.
from the old owners.
100%.
And now all of the people that were doing business with them are getting harassed by collection agencies a year after the fact, saying, "Hey, so can you prove you paid this?" And we're like, "What are you talking about? I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. You got to be kidding me!"
Like a year ago.
But that guy then subsequently sold the station shortly thereafter. So I don't know. I guess that was part of the deal, right? He walked off with everybody. Isn't that criminal, Lubie? I mean,
it's called stealing.
Yes. It's holy Lou Brock, man. You've been thrown out. All right. We'll see you guys later on. We have to get out of here. We'll see you at 12 o'clock today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox for Mike Lubie Lubitz. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm Jeff DeForest. See you later as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:07.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.